I'm gonna scare you real fast. Trans people, transaction, transmission, transgression. Yes, I'm sure that you have this big fear. Trans people inside of your belly, inside of your gullet. And I ask you this, unless you're trans yourself, how many trans people do you encounter on a daily basis outside the internet? Right? How many? I don't know. Because if you're to think about it, it's not that many. It's not a big number, not a huge number. I believe this is the percentage of how many trans people are in the US. I'm pretty sure if you do the entire scale of the world is significantly smaller as opposed to the scale of the world. That's not a big percentage at all. I phrase it like this, that people are scared of the wrong 1% is what I keep saying. But I've discovered something even better than that. There's a fear in the air right now. And I keep seeing it all over media. It's quiet, persistent, and it's strange in the background. It surrounds trans people. And if you listen closely, you can start to notice something about that fear. It does not sound like a reaction to reality. It sounds like a reaction to unfamiliarity. And that distinction does matter. Throughout all the history of propaganda, foreign threats have been used to villainize and alienate people and call them demons. It's been evil. It's a foreign threat. Unfamiliarity has always been one of the easiest tools to turn into suspicion. When people do not understand something, the mind wants to fill the gaps. For instance, when I am getting my nails done and the Vietnamese lady is saying words that I do not understand in Vietnamese, I fill in those gaps and she's insulting my skin. When in reality, I pulled out Google Translate and she's very complimenting my hair. She says my hair is very nice and she's telling everybody that my hair is nice, and my anxiety washes away because I understand something now. Assumptions rush in though, stories form, beliefs harden, and those beliefs can feel real even when they are built on very little direct experience. Most people have never had meaningful interactions with trans individuals in their everyday lives. Most people haven't. And I'm not just saying that most people are rare in the way people think. It's because meaningful interactions require something that fear discourages. Presence, openness, the simple, very real act of sitting with someone and letting them be who they are. Yet opinions run strong, shaped by headlines, debates, secondhand narratives that flatten real people into these abstract ideas. One black person is every black person. One trans person is every single trans person. And the person in themselves will become a symbol. This is how we destroy people individually. We make them a symbol, right? When I speak for every black person. If a trans creator speaks, they speak for every trans person. Every person is Lily Tino. Oh, you probably don't know Lily Tino. Lily Tino is the person that goes to Disney World and it's a nasty person. I hate that person. The individual becomes a talking point. And somewhere in that transformation, the actual human being will disappear. The danger of this fear is not in the feeling in itself. It's in how quickly that feeling can become normal. When something is repeatedly framed as strange, confusing, and threatening, it becomes easier for people to justify distracting themselves and distancing themselves from that same thing. A little distance feels reasonable. Then more distance feels reasonable. Eventually, harm starts to feel reasonable too. That's what happens. This is very strange, very odd, very interesting, because the narrative has been shaping the path for so long that the worst steps feel like natural conclusions. I'll give you an example. 1938, you're eating your cigarette and steak sandwich and you just got done, having a steak put in your eye because you got a little rough with the boys. You open Time magazine and you see, this Adolf fellow is person of the year. It's quite amazing. With your transatlantic accent. Oh, trans. Oh, this whole Siberian orchestra is trans? This is crazy. This whole slave trade in the Atlantic is trans? This is crazy. Anyway, Hitler is 1938 person of the year, right? That's who he is. And you say, this Hitler fellow is quite all right. History shows this pattern again and again, right? Groups get labeled as different. That's exactly what Adolf did. That difference gets exaggerated into something unsettling. Over time, that discomfort will become permission. It'll be permission to exclude, to dismiss, to treat those people as less deserving of understanding or safety. It rarely starts with outright hostility, right? You stay over there, I stay over here. It's not outright hostility. It starts with language, with tone, with the subtle suggestion that someone does not belong. The suggestion repeats. The audience grows. The people being talked about stop being people in the conversation. You see this a lot with a lot of a lot of past history stuff. For example, this particular, I want you to notice how that's in color. That is in color, talking about colored people. That is in color. That's a real thing. And I see the same thing happening with trans people in bigger droves, because we have more communication, more connection, and more chances for propaganda, because they become the subject of the conversation instead. And once that happens, it is very hard to bring them back, right? The reality of all these things is much simpler than what anyone knows what it is, right? Trans people are not abstract concepts. They are not a cultural symbol. They are not a debate topic with some human face attached for emotional weight. No, they are, and this is going to sound crazy, you may not believe this, you may not, individuals trying to live in a way that aligns with how they understand themselves. That is not strange. That is not confusing. That is what everyone is doing in one way or another. Everyone is navigating identity. You see so many stories about discovering yourself, finding who you are. So many tales, so many Hallmark movies about the woman finding who she is and discovering who she is. So many small narratives, Adam Sandler ass movies where the guy is a little bit strange and then he discovers who he is at the end of the movie. That's how a lot of movies go. They discover their identity. Moana is the entirety of the trans experience, discovering your purpose in life. You could say it that way. That's why so many people align with it when they find self-discovery journeys. That's what it is. That's it. That's what's going on. Everyone is trying to find a way to exist that feels right instead of forcing themselves into a role that never fits. Some people's journeys are visible. Some are not. But the desire underneath them is the same overall. Think about that. That's what it is. In online spaces, there is an illusion created by them. It makes it feel like trans people are everywhere. They're at the McDonald's, they're across the street, they're your neighbor, they're yourself, they're under your table, they're your cat, they're the frogs, making the frogs gay. It's crazy. Which, you know, it's crazy he said making the frogs. That's a real phenomenon. I didn't know that. That's like a real phenomenon that was going on. The water was actually making the frog. That was a real thing. That was a real thing. That was a partially real thing. It's like a 60% real thing. The way he phrased it was crazy, but 60% of that story is partially true. And it's weird. It's really strange. It's very odd. It sounded conspiratorial at first, but it is a real thing. It's a real thing that's happened. It's really strange that it happened before. It's very odd. He was talking about chimera pig hearts. I'm talking about Alex Jones for a second. I hate Alex Jones in my whole chest, but he was talking about chimera pig hearts, and there are human hearts being grown inside of pigs. That's like a whole thing. It's very strange how that went. Anyways, I want to talk about this. It makes it feel like trans people are everywhere, right? The internet amplifies voice, connects communities, makes visibility feel larger than it is. And the visibility is obviously, real, stands in reality, but it gets misinterpreted as prevalence, as if something new is suddenly everywhere, spreading, taking over. What's actually happening is really simple. People who were once invisible now have spaces where they can exist openly. Imagine this, right? Imagine if you heard that the Smurfs existed. Okay? But you've never seen a Smurf. Ever. So, you hear about the Smurfs. You say, oh, the Smurfs are making the oil prices go up and the Smurfs are committing crimes of violence. And you hear that one Smurf took out 5 people. And Smurfs account for 0.5% of the population. You say, well, these Smurfs are a little bit of an issue. They're so tiny and destructive and I can't even see them. But they're out there. You're insane. Smurfs live on a different planet is what's happening. You've never been to the planet. Yeah, but what if they come here? That's what's going on. And they're not appearing for the first time. They're being seen for the first time. I want to point this out. The difference between being seen and popping up, I don't know, is this whole thing. One is invasion, the other is a revelation. The pattern of how far fear spreads is not mysterious. It has been studied, documented, repeated across generations. Information gets filtered, simplified, emotionally charged narratives get repeated until they feel like common sense. People hear the same ideas from enough sources, and those ideas start to feel like their own. Because you don't know how to form your own opinions, that's what happens. Welcome to the real world. Propaganda machine. Boom. Fear does not have to move through direct experience, because this is how fear moves. It moves through repetition, the slow accumulation of unexamined assumptions. You do not have to meet someone to form an opinion about them anymore at all. You have formed your opinion about me without ever meeting me. That is what you've done. You've done that. That is fine. You've played video games in other people's lives is what you've done. You've listened to the reviews and you've said, nah, not gonna play this game. Don't care about it. Your opinion arrives pre-foreign package delivered, and the work of questioning it never has to happen. That's why I find an issue about nobody has their own opinions anymore. It's strange. What gets lost in all this is the basic art of seeing people as individuals instead of categories. When someone is reduced to a label, their reality becomes optional. You can hold opinions about the category without ever encountering the person. You can feel certain about the group while knowing nothing about the individual. Conversations shift from understanding to judgment immediately. Curiosity will harden into certainty, and that certainty often arises without any real knowledge behind it. It creates a distance that does not need to exist, a barrier built from assumptions instead of experience. And distance, once established, is very comfortable to maintain, right? That's a lesson they teach you in therapy, by the way, to get rid of your ex, by the way. So I like to think about this field of clover, right? A field of clover sometimes, right? You walk through it and you see something you do not recognize. Let's say you see, instead of a 4-leaf clover, you see a 7-leaf clover. Oh, interesting. How strange. How odd. Now, you have an option here. This shape does not match the pattern your eyes expect. You can react in 2 ways. You can pull back, decide it does not belong, clear it anyway, right? Just destroy the 7-leaf clover. Or you can kneel down, look closer, and learn what it is. That small choice on an individual level, right? One person, one moment, one reaction. It's small, very small. But collectively, those choices shape how society treat people who are different in any way. The accumulation of small reactions over and over again. It's disgusting, but the accumulation of small rejections will become exclusion over and over. The accumulation of small curiosities is going to become understanding. You get it now, right? You understand? The reason I brought up Adolf earlier in this whole debacle is because history tends to look back on these moments and ask the same question. Did people choose fear, or did they choose to kneel down and look? Being on the right side of history is not about predicting the future perfectly. It is not about knowing exactly how things will look in 50 years and aligning yourself with that image. It's actually really easy. It's really easy to discover how to be on the right side of history, and people keep failing, and it's really interesting. It is about how you respond to people in the present, right now, today, the person in front of you, the person being lived in front of you, the request to be seen, to be safe, to exist without having to justify existence. Fear can feel instinctive. It can feel like protection, but fear is not inevitable. It can be examined, questioned, replaced with something more grounded. That's what happens. The world has always changed through the gradual expansion of who is allowed to exist openly and safely. Every generation faces its own version of that shift. Every generation gets to decide which side of it they stand on. The quiet fear in the air right now, the unfamiliarity that keeps becoming suspicion, does not have to be that way. It doesn't have to stay that way. The gap between understanding and not accepting is not mixed, right? It's not fixed in any capacity. It can be closed. It closes every time someone chooses curiosity over certainty. Every time someone looks at a person instead of the entire category. Every time someone recognizes a desire to live as yourself is not strange. It is the most ordinary thing in the world. Trans people are very ordinary, very regular, very simple, same as you, same as me. It's very easy. It's not complex at all. It's really not complex. So easy. It's just so easy to understand. Big issue though, I think I discovered, and this is glasses off for a second. Hold on. The reason I had the glasses on is because people comment on my eyes and say you look tired, and also it's because of the backlight that's hurting my eyes. So I discovered that because people want direct answers to things, because they refuse to take a second to understand it, I think trans people are a lot like the beginning of a Crimson Desert, because the controls are awkward. Is really what I want to say. Play Crimson Desert is what I want to say about the whole video. Anyways, have a lovely day or night wherever you're at. I'm out. Peace. Bye.
Your nigga night be my lower. Happy to try what you need. Your world, I love to live in it. I love the ride when you